Hello, I'm Dale Matthews, and welcome to Inside News with Dale Matthews and Mike Jones. Mike wanted the day off today, so I thought, well, why don't we have Raymond Smith on? And Raymond has joined us as a guest. Hello, Raymond.
Hi, Dale. How are you?
Nice camera there. Okay, dark black background, and but you're looking good. Um, what I wanted to do is explain a little bit about why we're doing what we're doing. Not this show today, but why we're doing what we're doing with this website and with all of the things that you do. You watch the show, you've got a pretty good idea of what it is that we do. Wonder to just say why. Um, a crusading journalist is someone like maybe that old Adolf Menzies movie from the 30s, or maybe the 1974 version with Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon called The Front Page. And the idea of a crusading journalist is just a little bit different than just a regular journalist. A regular journalist just tells you, here's what happened. It's a little bit dry, but it's not colored by anything. It's here's the facts. A journalist that gives you more opinions and all tries to fit in, tries to tell you what some of the background is, tries to put things in perspective, tries to explain a little bit about what the heck is going on. I got a lot of feedback when I first started doing this about 12 years ago from people saying, yeah, I understand who was at that meeting, but what does this mean? Okay, I get the words, but what are the ramifications? And a lot of people said, please, let's talk about that because perhaps you know more about it. Okay. A crusading journalist is, in my opinion, a bit more than that. Sees a problem, doesn't feel that it's enough just to complain about it, but actually wants to do something about it, to kind of clean up City Hall kind of thing. And I suggest you might want to see that old movie called The Front Page. Um, so you have responded as the audience beautifully. Really. I know I've spoken with a number of you have said, I really did talk to my neighbor about this. I really do have somebody come over and watch the show with us. Really? That's great. And I've reached out to a couple of young people. I've had a number of people say this. So thank you for doing that. I think it's good for the whole community, which is the reason for this show. It's certainly not because we're trying to make advertising money, because there's no advertising. The idea in general is, what can you possibly do about this? And I believe we're at the next step. The next step is to try to encourage people to run for office to clean this place up. For example, there is a surveyor. There's nobody running for surveyor. Nobody. Really. County assessor. There's one person running. This is not America. One person running? Just one? For the Grants Pass City Hall, they're going to be running in November, but there's one person looks like going to be for mayor, one person for mayor, and 4 city councilors. What are we going to do? Now, if you agree with us, I think most of us that watch this show agree, although there are certainly people who are watching it for other reasons. Something needs to be done. So I said, okay, I'll run for commissioner. And it doesn't mean I think that I'm all that in a bag of chips, but certainly in talking about the solutions, I get people all the time, well, you and Mike and those other people, you never come up with solutions. We never come up with solutions. You never suggest anything that needs to be, we never suggest anything that's what we do on a nightly basis. Every night of the year is talk about, not just complain about it, but talk about solutions. Well, it's really about time that somebody did something and not just talk about doing something. So yeah, I'm running for office. And so is this character, Raymond Smith. Say hi, Raymond. Sorry, it's a monologue, bud.
Hi. Yeah.
I'm almost done. I promise. So,
right.
Here are the choices. And there aren't that many choices. If you agree that I know a little bit about what's happening in the county, here are my choices. We're going to need 2 people to change things around. There are 2 that are running, and without 2, well, we'd have more transparency. Going to continue doing the show no matter what. Okay. You'll find out more of what's happening, and I'll make sure that you get every single document that comes into the hands of a commissioner. But to get legislation done, to get things changed, to get to, a better attitude toward the public, to those kinds of things, there are just so many choices. So imagine that you're running, because it's kind of like we're all running, honestly. Imagine that you're running. Would you want Cheryl Walker as your running mate? Would you be happy with Cheryl Walker as the person that's going to get things done? Why, I get along with Cheryl Walker and we're going to do things. I don't think so. All right, Lily Morgan. I like Lily, but Lily has voted for every single property tax that's come down the line. She says that she's probably not going to this time, but all of her biggest backers are property tax people. What does this mean? She said that she thinks that Dan DeYoung would be a perfect guy to run alongside. Dan DeYoung, the architect of one of the big architects of the sales tax, who's also voted for every prep. I don't think so. All right. There's Mark Seligman. Now, imagine that you're making this choice. Mark Seligman, I like Mark. And if marijuana was the most important thing to me, why, by golly, I'd go along with Mark Seligman, but it's not. There's Shane Christen. Shane Christen, who? Yeah, I know. Shane Christen feels stronger about marijuana than Mark Seligman does. Well, okay, so the marijuana contingent of Josephine County is well represented, and if that's your number one and sometimes only priority, why vote for one of those guys? Ron Smith. Ron Smith has he's killer on things like land use and those kinds of things. But he was on our show. Ron Smith has a point of view which is very strong. And when we asked him about other issues, he's not really that interested in other issues. And all the things that he talks about and all the things that he posts are on this one issue. I think that he really is a great guy to talk to about that one issue. But I get a very strong impression, and you may have it too, that he's not really that interested in the rest of what county government's about. Bill Hunker. You know that I like Bill Hunker. Bill has decided he wants to run alongside Joseph Rice. Now, if you think Joseph Rice would be the most transparent commissioner ever, why, you should vote for Joseph Rice and Bill Hunker. I'm a little disappointed, and I don't think that's going to end up being the most transparent government ever. I think it's going to end up being the opposite. Even Bill doesn't know when Joseph Rice is going to put his hat in the ring. He doesn't know. Well, that partnership's not turning out so good right at the beginning, but we'll see. Virgil Marler, who? Yeah, okay. He's also running. Virgil Marler had told me that in about a year or two, perhaps it's about time for another levy. I don't think so. So as far as people who would like to see a break, just a break, please, just a break from levies, you got Mark Seligman, you got Ron Smith, you've got me, and you have Raymond Smith. So after talking a lot with Ray Smith, who's here with us today, I said, this fellow is just like this show. He's just like you as the audience. And I wanted to have him come on and say a few things about to work together with me on tonight's show, talking about what the possibilities are for a typical meeting, to try to paint a picture of what it could be like, because there's a lot of people, they don't know unless they see it. Raymond, I've been doing a lot of talking. You want to say like 2 or 3 words now?
Sure.
That's about all. Okay, now back to me. Go ahead. Sorry, Ray.
No, that's okay. Yeah, that's a good thing to do. I don't think people would, understand what a meeting should be like unless you do something like that. You go in there and you go to a meeting and you've got your 3 minutes. You do your 3 minutes and then sit down and listen to the commissioners talk about you and belittle you and tell you how stupid you are, not in so many words, but
Sometimes they do.
sometimes it is in that many words. And if you get to finish what you're saying, so that doesn't always happen either. I've seen that, and the as long as you agree with them, then you're doing okay. But if you point something out, then you're you're not supposed to do that. So that I think that should change.
So we're going to walk in together, all of us, going to walk in together into the Ann Basker. Now, some of you have never been there, but you've seen some of our videos from there. We're going to walk in the front door in a new kind of environment, one in which, like it says over my shoulder, where the citizens are held in high esteem. As a matter of fact, instead of being like an imperial court with people up above that are giving you instructions, this is what you got to do, and we're going to tell you, and you sit there quietly, and no, people are going to be, they're not going to be rude, but instead of being up above us like this imperial court, the general idea is that you're the stockholders in the company. You are the stakeholders in the community. You care enough to show up, or you have the time to show up at a meeting, and you'd like to be treated decently. This is not too much to ask, but it's not been done. And if you've been to one of these, you've seen what I mean. So let's walk in the front door together. So it's the Ann Basker Auditorium. That's not too far from the courthouse. You walk in the front door, and the first thing that you see is, at this point, what you would see when you walk in the front door, Raymond, you've been there. She's a nice secretary most of the time. There's also that bitter pill secretary, but the person that's usually there is Wendy Watkins. And where is Wendy sitting when you walk in the front door, Ray? Usually.
I've been there, but I'm not familiar with her personally, so I don't know where that would be.
Well, she sits behind the dais up there next to the
Oh,
commissioner.
okay. Yeah.
Notes,
Yeah,
right. And
that's
that's
her.
a good place for her. But
Mhm.
if she arrives just a few minutes early, when the doors open, wouldn't it be nice? I know some of these things are just symbolic, but imagine you walk in the front door and there's someone to say, "Hi, how you doing?
Yeah.
Welcome to your meeting." And why shouldn't it be a county commissioner? "Hey, nice to see you again." Or, "Is this the first time you've been here?" I would know that. And after a short period of time, Raymond would know if somebody's showing up for the first time, or maybe, "Oh, weren't you here about a year ago?" Or, "Is this, oh, well, you brought your kids with you. That's great. Well, you're welcome to this meeting." How often do we feel welcome at a meeting? Tell them what you were starting to say there, Raymond, about the kind of reception that people get at these meetings. What's been your impression so far, and were you surprised?
Yeah, from time to time I am surprised. The the reception that you get is it depends on who you are. Sometimes they sometimes they look a little nervous when there's a lot of people showing up, and that generally, to me, indicates a controversial issue that is going to be, well, let's say discussed, but not so much. People are going to get up and voice their opinion, and usually they'll take that into consideration, or like I said before, they've already got their minds made up. They're going to, tell you how stupid you are. And at the end, maybe when interrupt you when you're speaking, which is pretty rude because they're taking your 3 minutes and they don't give that back to you. So they've got all the time in the world to tell you what all that they know, but not listen to what you have to say or consider it in all reality. So that doesn't do much for me. Um, Other than that, yeah, it's kind of a meeting as usual, and they kind of look down on you, like you say. They sit up there, look down at you,
Literally,
and
they literally
yes,
look down.
right. And I don't know. They're act like they're, how would you say it? Not
God's gift to humanity.
something like that. Better than you are. I mean,
Yes.
occasionally I've seen one of them come up and speak to someone, whether it's somebody they know or not. I've been spoken to before. Actually, so far the only one has been Simon Hare that's come up and talked to me. But yeah, they're pretty standoffish, I think, from the general public. So that
Okay.
doesn't.
So we're in the lobby. We're in the lobby, and we look over to the right, and that furniture that used to be there, it looks sort of like a table and some chairs that you'd see at a old soda shop or something. That's back. And the reason that's interesting to me is that they took it away because they were trying to kind of retaliate against some people who would sit out there and make notes and then come in and talk. And they're just trying to make life difficult for them. And at this moment, Sandy Casanelli comes in with a couple of paint buckets, and she and anybody else interested in sitting in the lobby can sit on the paint buckets. That's nice. And over on the left side, as you walk in the front door, is a kitchen area where nobody ever does any kitchen stuff, but you can kind of pull back these vertical blinds and kind of look and kind of sit there with your arms folded if you want to, and quietly, chat with somebody very quietly, and kind of watch if you don't want to be in with the main area, what you either can't take it anymore, or you just don't want to be on camera or whatever. Well, they've chained that off. They've chained it off. Authorized personnel only. Really? So what would happen now is you walk in the front door. You've already been greeted by somebody, hopefully a county commissioner. Hey, nice to see you. You can go over and sit down on that furniture, or that chain is gone. That chain is cut. It's now on the wall as a testament to what we will never do again. We're not going to treat people like that anymore. And before we forget, before we leave this, that front lobby area, it's fairly small. There are speakers that can be turned up there. And for people who would like to sit out in the lobby and just kind of listen to what's happening, and maybe walk in and say something, or maybe just kind of peer around the corner and see it, the speakers are working. Of course, they can be turned up a little bit, and you can hear what's going on. So if you're going to have a coughing fit or something, or if you're taking a phone call, or if you just want to chat with someone for a moment, you're not in the main room where you must keep deathly quiet. Although the department heads don't have to do that, and you can hear them talking on the tape sometimes because they're not under any similar admonition that the citizens are. And so it's now possible to hear that. Okay, go through the doors. We've got those chairs.
I've taken my children to things. I actually have taken them to one of the evening sessions, and they're old enough. They do quite good in something like that. The son not so much, but he did pretty good. But you go to other things, and if you have a place like that, you can actually sit out there where children aren't disturbing other people quite so much, and you can kind of coax them into being more quiet, or give them something to do, while you're.
Yeah, they could
Exactly.
sit at that table with crayons. Why would you take that table out? That's just petty. It's so right away, as you first walk in the door, you're starting to feel more welcome. Here's the most important symbolic thing of all, I think, and I talked with Ray briefly about that before this show. Mostly we haven't talked about this. The first thing that you would notice when you walk in the door, when you walk in now, is there's this big blue curtain, and there's the three commissioners sitting up there above the rest of us, Get down off your high horse, come down here with the people where they can see you. But why are you physically above everybody in the room? Really? I mean, Cheryl won by 62 votes. Isn't that enough of a overwhelming majority? 62 votes that she should feel like she's on top of the world? Really, you got to be up and elevated above everybody? Come on down to where we are. We're the most important people in the room.
Yeah, that's 62 votes. That's a pretty slim margin. You get a property tax levy that what do you have, a few hundred votes, and that's not enough to say just no, don't bring it back next year. It's like, well, there's enough, there's enough that are saying yes, we should do this again, and as uh, slim margin, 62 votes. Maybe we should vote on that again. I don't know.
There are people who would like to do that. All right, so when you walk in the door, there are 5 podiums. Podia? There's 5 podiums. 5 podiums. Gee, that seems okay, but there's a reason for that. The 3 commissioners are on the ground level with the rest of us. Thank you. Let's be more egalitarian here, right? They're on the ground level with us. You can still see them quite easily. Each has a microphone. Cool. Right? Now, instead of having, when you sit in the Anbasker and you're watching a department head make a presentation, that department head has his or her back to you because they're supposed to be subservient to the almighty commissioners. Boy, this is America. I mean, if this was Britain, they'd all wear powdered wigs. It's everything but the powdered wigs here. We're Americans. That podium should be turned around so that they're facing us. Whenever you see a new person come in, they're kind of like, well, where am I supposed to face? Because the people I want to talk to are behind me. Well, as Simon Hare, number 1, will point out, and the other 2 right afterwards. No. You're here to report to us. BS. No, we're not. This is our meeting.
Yeah, you're there to.
We're simply the public servants. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, they want you there to address them. Well, you're just as much there to address the rest of the people that show up, because you're trying to express your opinion out in the open, where you wouldn't get that chance if you talked to them on the computer or the phone or went into their office. So if you have something a little different that somebody hasn't thought of, and you want to get that out in the open, the best way to do it is to show up at the meeting and say it. And so, yeah, I think you're addressing the public as well as your opinion with the commissioners, whether it's for something, against it, or however that may be.
But Raymond Smith, now hold on a second. This is a business session, and this is the business of who? Who should it be? Whose business is it that we're talking about? The 3 elected commissioners, as Rika Brown calls them, the honorable chosen ones that we've chosen to rule us?
Now, they've been elected to represent us, not rule us. That's a different thing. You don't elect rulers; they take that power, and I think that's been happening. So, yeah, you're elected representative. That's what they're supposed to be. Yeah.
Public servants. They're servants. They're nothing more than just servants.
Yeah. Employees.
Highly paid servants with $100,000 a year to be a servant. Something's wrong with this picture, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. Real wrong. Yeah, that's too much. The charter doesn't allow that. And I know that's been taken to court, but and it wasn't by these commissioners, but they haven't done anything to fix that, and they obviously don't. They don't appreciate the charter, and the state constitution actually says how you're supposed to set that up. And originally, it was set up like the Constitution dictates. So if they wanted to represent the public, they would come back to the people and make sure that that's right. And none of them want to touch that. They don't want to touch it with a 20-foot pole, because you've got a job with an income that's, in my opinion, it's way lavish to the rest of the county. I mean, you don't see people in this county making that kind of money. Yeah, granted, there's a lot of people that do, but the general population that's paying the bill, they don't. And I think if you want to do your job, let's come back to the people and say we're going to fix this and put the power back in your hands.
Oh, you radical.
Yeah, that's me. So I think that's just realistic, really. So
Now you in the audience have heard me talk about this and Mike talk about this many times. Just please note here as you're watching this, Ray doesn't have any problem jumping in. Okay, he's no shrinking violet. Nobody's controlling Ray and what he has to say. So if he's got something to say, he's going to say it. Yeah.
yeah, that's me. I'm uh, occasionally a little, slow on the output of. I'm usually thinking of what I'm going to say, but
Not
I
that. I hate that.
yeah. I'd rather do that than blurt something out that's not so smart or taken the wrong way. And I do
No, it's
have.
interesting that you said that, Ray. It's interesting that you said that because everybody knows how much I like Bill Hunker. I like Bill Hunker, and he's been on the show many times. And I said to Bill, "Hey, Bill, Ray Smith and I are going to be on the show, and we're going to have Mike on. And why don't you come on, and we'll all talk about how we would answer the typical questions. You guys maybe remember that show. How we would answer the typical questions. What are you going to do about law enforcement? What you're feeling about, what's your favorite color, those kinds of stuff." And he said, "Well, I'll come on. I like Bill. You know that I do." And then he called me back and he says, whatever I say on your show, people will remember that. I said, I hope so. Well, I'm not really quite sure. And Bill, if you're watching this is what you said, but I'm really not quite sure that I want to get out there on the record and say these things. Not like we're going to rake anybody over the coals. Am I doing it now? But, that kind of sticks around forever. Yes, it does. We do it every night of the week. What's the problem? Here's Ray. Where's Bill? Okay, I like Bill, but Bill, buddy, if you've got a heartfelt feeling, say what it is.
Yeah, I do that. I mean, I say what it is. If I don't know enough about it, I'll say so, and then I want to figure it out. And once I say something, if it needs to be clarified with somebody, I'll do that. And generally, when I'm there's a position I take, there's a reason for it, and unless I can be convinced that there's a good reason that it shouldn't be quite the stance that I take, I'll take a look at that. But I will say what I say, and generally maintain my position. And sadly enough, if you don't agree with me, then there's always someone else, that's waiting there to agree with you. So.
Well, now one of the things that Raymond said that I really like is he said, well, why don't you tell us, Raymond? Tell us, if you will, please. I already know this, but it was one reason I like the guy. Tell us what your position is on two of the important issues. There's many more. One of them being property taxes and the break, and also about the payment called for by the charter. What is your stand? These two things place us in a completely different category than every other person out there talking about county government. What are your positions about that, sir?
Okay, well, the property taxes, the people have spoken year after year. We've been taking polls. They're not fake polls. They're not polls that somebody samples a couple hundred people in the county or 400 and say, well, this is what they say. So no, they're polls by the public. Do you want to pay more for this? And the public says no. My opinion on that is your no has as much weight as a yes. If you say no, that's what it means. And if it keeps coming back that way, my opinion is just quit asking. I don't think that we should be asking for more property tax. That's been answered many times. I don't. I wouldn't. I wouldn't agree with it. If that doesn't mean that the people can't, or somebody can't put an initiative on the ballot, but I would publicly oppose it simply because it's been done so many times, and the people say
Yes.
no. You're wasting our time asking us, trying to this one narrow subject. You've got to get beyond that. There's reasons for it. The public either can't afford it. That's one big reason. You don't feel you're getting what you pay for. That's another big reason. And I live out in the Illinois Valley, and I hear time and time again from people, look, even when they had funding and they had sheriffs, we didn't have patrols out there, and they didn't respond really. I mean, they might come out eventually, but if they were on the ball, you had 45 minutes to an hour to wait. So you're on your own. And regardless of the reason, the people have said no, regardless of the margin of between the yes and no votes, it still come back no. If if it came back with the slimmest of margin, which is one vote, as a yes, do you think that that would come show up on the ballot next year and say, well, you don't know there's no consensus. You don't know what you want. Let's vote on it again. No, they're going to stick you with those taxes for the next 3 years, 5 years, or whatever they've got on there. As far as I'm concerned, if you're proposing a 5-year levy and it fails, then it's failed for 5 years. Don't ask again for 5 years. Let's just say that if it was a yes vote, you'd be paying for 5 years. If it's a no vote, don't ask us again for 5 years. So that's the way I see it.
I like that idea. I like that. It was further than I was saying. Okay, let's take a 4-year break from this. I like your idea there, but
Yeah, well, and the charter, the compensation, the state constitution says that when a county sets up a charter, that uh, you have the tenure, the compensation, so on and so forth, that is to be determined or laid out in the charter. That power rests with the people. The power to repeal, amend, the initiative and referendum power all rest with the people. The government can't, the county government, your commissioners, whoever, cannot, they're not supposed to be able to, by the state constitution, alter that in any way. And they can't bring that to the people and a referendum or an initiative and say, hey, we want to change this. That's got to be initiated by the people. And of course, that was taken to a judge. It was contested, and they set it aside. They threw it out, whatever.
it was
But
contested by the commissioners. The commissioners took our legal counsel that we pay and had him go to court to reverse your decisions. Really? And the same thing about fees. We had control over the fees. We don't want you raising fees unless we have a word to say about it. They went to court and with Steve Rich leading the way and used your tax dollars to turn around your own charter. Oh, well, I'm going to obey the charter. No, you're not. You're not doing it now. So we've got a solution to this. You take $30,000, you give the rest of it to charity until we can get around to changing the charter, and probably 30 is a little low, but okay, we can put up with that. So both Ray and I have said, and I find nobody else willing to do that. Oh, what, are you crazy? I want the money. Why are you running for this office? Well, I want to serve the people, but I want to make a lot of money while I'm doing it. We're doing it now. We're getting paid nothing. This is a tremendous advance. See, but we'll take all the rest of it and give it to charity. Isn't that really what following the charter means? Why are you running for office if you don't want to follow the charter?
yeah, that needs to be addressed. And yeah, I think we should follow the charter and address it later. That once you get going, then what needs to be looked at, in my opinion, is one, there's decisions that's made by courts and lower courts that can be wrong. They can be an error. If you're actually violating the state constitution, then that can be, I would think, reversed. That's gonna. I'm not a lawyer, but things like that have happened before. And if that's not the case, then you need to actually deal with this with the people and with council, and make it so that the public does have a say in this, because you can't take the elected people, their wages, and base it on uh, somebody somewhere else, which is what they do in similar populated counties somewhere else. They base your wage on that. That doesn't. You need to base your wage on the public that's paying the bill, and that's my understanding of why that's designed that way, is because it gives the public the power to say, wait a minute, this is too much. Even if you have to have almost like a jury of people or whatever that serve whenever uh, your wage would be looked at, and they determine the wage. If they have to elect representatives out of the public to do that for you, you've got to figure that out somehow to put the power back in the people's hands. That's what that charter is supposed to do. That's so that the government isn't controlling every aspect of your life and your money. You should have some power over something.
Well, this is why we must be stopped, Raymond, because this would put the power back in the hands of the people. And it doesn't need to be chaos. Okay, so you're standing in the room there in the ambassador, and you've got the three commissioners there, and they're looking at the audience, and the audience can talk with them. And you've got your department head that's reporting to the audience and to the commissioners, because they're the servants that are supposed to carry out your instructions. I mean, of course, they can do it without instructions from you if you don't know what or you don't care what, but they want to hear your input. And then as a person comes up and asks a question about it, they can then look at the audience, they can look at the department head, they can look at the commissioners, and they can say, I would like an answer to this. Every meeting, the very first thing that happens after the invocation, thank you very much, we need all the help we can get, and the Pledge of Allegiance, the first order of business, answering questions from the last meeting posed to us by the boss. That's you. I would like to know about this. Okay, we didn't have your answer there, but now we have the department head to come in and explain what that's about. And this department head, of course, talks to the commissioners, but he reports to the people who are paying his salary. That's you. Why? Of course it should be like this. What turned it around? How is it suddenly that we're all, oh, please, may I have the privilege to speak? Get rid of that. This is America, where your servants will be paid like servants, will act like servants. Yes, we can make the decisions, and hopefully we've got enough brains to do so, but we're going to be serving you. You're the most important person in that building. Tell them a little bit about what we think we might be able to do in bad weather, Raymond, because we talked about this, or to include people who can't make that 45-minute or an hour drive from Cave Junction where you live. What could we do there, bud?
Yeah, that's a good point. I since I do live out in the Illinois Valley, we did talk about this, and if there was inclement weather where it wasn't safe to drive, there should be a way that you can remotely hook up and still have the meetings. And I'm not one with technology, so I'd be relying on other people for this.
Well, we've already done it. We were at the Cave Junction City Council meeting. We went live from the Cave Junction City Council meeting just on a little dopey, well, not dopey, sorry, very helpful cell phone. Easy to do. Easy to do. Wasn't the best audio because they have terrible audio there, but absolutely we can do that. The technology is there. We've done this lots of times. You know that we've done live election coverage and everything else. This could be, this right now, we're going out on YouTube live. This could easily be done with the county commissioners meetings. And why not? Because they don't want that kind of coverage. But tell us how that would work. Okay, so let's suppose I live in the city, Grants Pass City. Let's suppose I'm in the Anbasker. Simon Hare is there. He's still a commissioner. We're going to be polite to the guy. Not going to always let him have his way. He may never have his way. Okay, that might please you. And we're seated there, and you're up in the Illinois Valley, or maybe we send Simon down to Medford, down to Merlin. He's going to have somebody drive him. Okay, but he's down in Merlin. Okay, and so can't we do things from three locations with the citizens being the most important part of the equation? What do you think, Ray?
Yeah, I think you can do that. I don't think ideally you would want to do that all the time, but um, yeah, there's cost involved with the public, as well, not just the actual outlay of cash to get back and forth to a meeting like in Grants Pass, but you've got the time as well if you have the time. And I know they have the quarterly meetings there in Cave Junction, the town hall style, and I'd like to say that you could expand on that, have it a little more often, and include other areas. There's got to be places like Williams or Wolf Creek or wherever that you may have some interested individuals that can't get into Grants Pass at these meetings, and that style of meeting where you can talk to people more, question and answer one on one a little bit without the constrictions of you've got 3 minutes, and of course you may or may not get an answer, and of course it's rarely, if you do, what you would expect to get. um, I think that just some more interaction with the public, if you truly want public input, you're going to treat the public decent and ask their opinion and listen to them instead of try to exclude them at every possible opportunity.
But
Uh,
these and it's not expensive to do this. We do it all the time, and I don't have two nickels to rub together, and it's easy to do this. Okay, most of the stuff is borrowed in one or cobbled together from one way or another. Thank you very much for your help. Um, but Raymond, this is just not convenient for the commissioners to go out of their way to do this kind of stuff. It's not, and it's just not convenient for them.
yeah, well, it's not convenient for us either. So that's that makes the rest of us too. So that doesn't bother me at all. That's part of your job. That's part of your job. It's not convenient for me as a farrier, horseshoer, if you don't know what that is, to sometimes drive the other end of the county somewhere, up a path to get to somebody's horse to work on out in the rain, and that's my job. I do that. So uh, I think driving to another area where you've got a nice lit, probably heated building, which that's not that important to me either, but if you're in the dry and you can meet with people, that's pretty good. So I don't. I'm not worried about their inconvenience. I don't see it as an inconvenience.
Well,
That's
now I'm working my finger to the bone here too. You can see in the difference between our pictures. He looks kind of pale. I look sort of dark. It's because I'm surrounded by these monitors, keeping track of the news and everything. I've got a monitor suntan all over my face from these things that are, yeah, it's awful, And so you're there in the room. Now, somebody's going to say, somebody inevitably, well, these meetings are going to take forever. No, they're not. First of all meetings, they meet 3 times a week. All of the meetings are in the Anbasker because they're all televised, because they're all sent out live over YouTube. Everybody that has a cell phone or has a computer can watch them. Now, if you want to come there in live in person, fine. If you'd like to pick up the transcript of the meeting, fine. But before the meeting happens, every document is available to the public. Now, there are some people going, woohoo, already. Every document is available. Do not consider a document at that meeting if you haven't shared it with the boss, that's you, first. And don't give us a black map on black with a black legend. No. This, the people need to see it, and don't have a department head. Oh, I've got some last minute information here. It's just for the commissioners. What? They're not the boss. They're just the servants. I'm only going to hand this to the servants of the house. No, 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 no. You're going to hand it to the boss of the house. What are you doing? So everybody has a copy. You need a physical copy while you're there. Next to Wendy, the very nice lady, the young lady that is, you need a physical copy. She's got a printer, a quiet little printer right next to her computer, and you just go up and you say, "Can I have a copy of that document?" There's your copy. Just in time, demand, copies on demand right there. Okay, doesn't mean we're going to make 100 copies for you, but I mean, if you need it right there, and you're the kind of person, some people are, that need a piece of paper, no problems. We're not going to surprise you with things. It would be there available to you ahead of time. Now, department head comes in and says, "I've got last minute news." It better be danged important, because you haven't told the boss yet about it. When you come into this meeting, you would like to be informed so you can ask intelligent questions, as opposed to me, right? You can come in and you can say something based on the information that we need. Well, won't it take forever? No, because you only get 3 minutes to say your questions. The commissioners get 3 minutes. What? Yeah, because most of the time it's like the citizens, who are the most important people in the room, they finish their statements, and then the commissioners can go on for half an hour, literally, about how stupid those questions were. It's the end of that. You want to talk on a subject, you got 3 minutes. Commissioners included, department heads included. Give us the executive summary. This is a business meeting. 3 times a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, Friday. No more weekly business session. It's the Monday business session, the Wednesday, and the Friday business session. It's all in front. No more of this, "Well, we're in the little back room, and so we won't be taking any questions." What? What do you mean you won't be taking any questions? Of course you can take questions. They used to. They used to. Then Simon here came in. "No, we're not going to do that anymore." Okay, Simon, the best part for you, bud, you get to continue being a commissioner for 2 more years, but all of these things that you've done that wipe the people off the face of the earth are all being put back. Right?
Oh yeah, that's good. That's absolutely right. I mean, if you're going to work for anyone, and if you're doing this job, you're working for the public, you need their input, and um, you can't just get to a point where you know best. And even if, well, where'd that come from? But there's really no stupid questions. Even if it's a repetitive question that you hear from multiple people, you're gonna have to answer that. And if you don't know, you need to find the answer. And if there's points that are brought up that haven't been brought up, you need to address that too. And you need that input when you're spending the public's money and you're doing business for the public. Of course, there's things that you can do without that, but when you're talking about important issues, it's important to everyone. It doesn't it affects everyone in the county, and if they're concerned about it, and they're voicing an opinion, that should be listened to. You can't just turn away from that and um, you know look the other way and say, "Well, I've got this. It's this, that, or the other thing." That's what they generally do, and no
I'm a
matter,
lofty commissioner. I'm more important than you are.
yeah,
It's
that,
the
that
end of that.
yeah, that's a general treatment that people get. Unless you agree with them, then there's no problem at all. If you bring up something that's controversial, or um, how do you, it just doesn't match what they're trying to accomplish, then one, you either won't get a response, or two, there's uh, a bunch of reasons why what you say is not not going to happen, and here's why. Although I've never seen anyone offer any proof as to why that can't be. It's like finding money. You find money in the county for something that they want, but for the thing they keep asking you for money for, they can't find that somehow. I don't understand that line of thought, but if you
Arsenic, the arsenic testing is a really good example. Why were they doing this? And we tried to warn them this is a bad idea, and they would not listen. Cheryl's and Keith worked together. Simon opposed this for the junk ordinances, the 4 junk ordinances. It lost by 80%. This is a blowout in any nation in the world. I mean, this is like, communist country turnout. 90% maybe, but 80% is a big deal. I mean, this is a solid no.
well,
And the thing that they did was get irritated.
yeah, that to me that just shows you how out of touch with the public and how out of touch with reality these people are. The those ordinances were originally set up by the people. They're in the charter. And there's a method for dealing with that. The people voted on it, they put it in. That's the way it is. Two people and the 2 county commissioners overturned that by themselves.
And she didn't want a voter's pamphlet. And don't forget, Keith Heck was dead set against a voter's pamphlet also. Cheryl said, well, it just doesn't pass the smell test, that people might want to get in there and say opposite things. This is America. Keith Heck said there's no way in the world, even if people come in with $10,000, which is twice as much as it would take to make this thing, and it ended up being done anyway, I would still oppose it. I would still oppose it. This was Keith Heck. I would still oppose a voter's pamphlet. Look, now's the time to show that kind of person the door.
Yeah, that's right. Well, of course, what's the other thing? If they have to have a voter's pamphlet, let's word it as vague as possible, or put it in the best light, or put the best spin on it to try to get the vote that you want out of it. And that tends to happen all the time. I think that's coming up with the advisory question with House Bill 3453. That's a lose-lose situation.
Don't you
Hopefully,
want free money? Free money. Well, there's no strings attached. Why would there be strings attached? Come on.
yeah, there's strings, and they're more like wire rope. That's a cable. It's a cable that's attached, and you're setting yourself up if you take free money, which is not free. There's nothing free in life. You agree with that. Then the next thing is the state says, well, now that we've injected money into your public safety that you're too cheap to pay for, or too stupid because you won't agree with us, then here is something the state's going to vote on, and that was the $2 bill, that what it became known as, because now the state has the right to vote on that because they actually are ponying up some money for your public safety. That'll be the next thing down the road. And so then they're going to have the rest of the state vote on your property taxes, and you're not going to have that say. That's not the way local power is supposed to be. That takes the power away from you. You have no local power, and you've just given it to everyone in the state of Oregon that they don't have anything to lose. It's not going to affect them. And if they think for 1 second that they're spending 1 dime on you here, of course they're going to vote for you to raise your property taxes because they already pay that much where they're at. It's not going to affect them. They're going to vote for it. So, House Bill 3453 is just a foot in the door for the next layer of government, and just to remove that local power from you and put it in the hands of the rest of the people, that they don't have anything to lose by it. So,
well, we got a plan for them. We'll take this power out of their hands and we'll put it into the people. Now, the people sometimes make lunkhead decisions. You know what the people are like. Okay, you're one of them, right? And occasionally we make dopey decisions, but we're the people. This is America, and we get to choose. And so if we're going to go this route and not that route, I don't need somebody like Dan DeYoung or the mayor saying, well, you've got no good reasons. Hey, we took a vote. You lost. You can move to another country if you don't like our system, but this is what we want to do. And we made it clear to them, 80%, 78, 80% to 20. We don't want your Grants Pass Grants Pass city sales tax. Well, they had no good reasons. Honestly, we don't need any good reasons. We have good reasons. You just weren't listening to them. But I mean, once we vote, that's it. Now you're going to have to get over it. Well, you still got your hand out. No, we don't. They're laughing with Shara. Well, if you don't do, you need to put something on the ballot, even if it's wrong. Really? Okay, so a better attitude toward the people. There won't be any secretarial staff, male or female, working in the county commissioner's office that are hard to get along with. They'll all respect the public. Glad to see you. How can I help you? Oh, good. Let me, just like Wendy is. How can I help? Oh, yeah. Well, would you like some help with that? That's what she's like. The others are not like that. There's plenty of room for people who need to file papers where you can yell at the papers or rip them up or whatever. Okay, hopefully not. But don't be dealing with the public. What are you doing? Don't put people in that position. Nice people, trying to be public servants, get that information out there for people, keep them informed like we try to do on this show. Hopefully you feel that we do. The right attitude about it. We're not lofty personages that are worthy of princely salaries. No, no, no. We're simply public servants that are trying to, and we go back to the way that things were. Some of the things are still that way at the city council, despite what the mayor tries to do of changing things. You come in at the very beginning, we answer the questions that were asked last meeting. Then we open it up for people who've got general statements they want to make. You want to talk about black helicopters? It's your 3 minutes. This is a business session, but you're the business. Why would we be treating you badly? You are the reason that we're here. There's no other reasons. Okay? Then we go to the first subject and we talk about, okay, so-and-so from the department, what's the answer to this? Once they tell us the executive summary and all the rest of it's in writing that you've already had a chance to see, that's the way it should be, then you got a question, you come on up, you ask the question or you make your statement. 3 minutes. You want a response from the commissioners? 3 minutes. You want something from the department head? 3 minutes. We don't get half an hour while you get 3 minutes. Why are we getting more time than you? You're more important. And so you get the people in there, right? On that subject, next subject, next subject, next subject. And at the very end, the protected time, the commissioners can speak for 3 minutes. And when that's over, guess what we will do? You already know the answer. We open it up to the public to have their closing statement. They have the time at the end, not the commissioners. Who the heck are these commissioners? Who died and made him the king? It's the end of the imperial government of Josephine County. You want to bring us in for a landing here or throw the horseshoe or whatever analogy you want to use there, Ray?
Sure. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, the people should be speaking at the end. That's like pointing on one side of the room and going across, and you can't go back. I've been sitting somewhere where I don't intend to say a word. I just want to see what's going on. And by the time you get past that person, and somebody clear over here on the other side, they say something, make a point, and it jars something in your mind, and you say, hey, I would like to say something about that. Oh, no, you can't do that because we've already passed you. I saw that in the meetings before, and that's absolutely ridiculous. So when you get to the end, you may have somebody in the public that's saying, this guy that spoke after me, I got something to say about that, or I've got maybe I have an answer, or that, makes a question for me. You can't go back and forth all day, but it is still something that you could answer at the next meeting or whenever. You can still give a brief answer, or if you know it, or like I say, answer at the next meeting. But you've got you really should have the public feeling like they don't have to just keep coming back to try to get the same point out and get an answer for the same question that never gets answered. And that's like watching a political debate where seven people ask the person that same question and they answer something way off over here every time, and you never hear an answer to the question. So except drop dead or go away, and that's kind of what it ends up being. So yeah, yeah, that needs to be changed. And
These meetings will not be lasting forever, and the main reason why is that we're going to curtail government. Isn't that what the Bill of Rights is all about? We're going to curtail government. The idea that you get 3 minutes and you're the boss, and then Simon Hare can talk for half an hour on an issue, it's the end of that. Or Lisa Shipley comes in for the veterans and she plays back a videotape where they're saying, I love Lisa Shipley, and then it's got patriotic music. What the heck is this doing at a business meeting or a budget meeting? That's not the place for that. Give us the executive summary. Give the executive summary to the bosses. Okay, so there's going to be plenty of time. I predict that these meetings will be about the same or maybe shorter because each person will present their little executive summary. The only people that are going to be allowed to talk on for 3 minutes without giving an executive summary will be the public. And if for some reason we all come to the conclusion that the commissioners need 4 minutes, then the public will get 4 minutes, each of you. You can talk about these issues. The only thing that we would ask is, have your general comment at the beginning of the show, of the meeting. Have your issue-specific things in the middle. Move it along, zip, 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 next, 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 next. We'll listen to what you have to say, and at the end, you can summarize it. We get to summarize it, you get to summarize it. I think that we could end up with maybe 30, 40 different statements, but each of them is only 3 minutes long. We can live, and some of them won't even last that long. I just want to say, I don't think you're doing a good job. Okay, don't interrupt the guy. Let him say what he has to say. Okay, that's the boss. You treat everybody the same, even if we don't agree with you. I'm not going to call you a lying maggot. That's horrible. Who said that Keith Heck could do that? And where did he learn that? At the Gospel Rescue Mission?
yeah, that's pretty bad. Pretty bad behavior. You'd hope when you're teaching your children that. I've got a son. I try to teach him good sportsmanship. We play chess, we play other games, and at the end, whoever wins, it's come up and shake your hand and say thank you for playing. I enjoyed that, and that's you're going to have people that disagree with you, and that's just the way it is, especially on two sides of an issue. There's going to be one side and the other, and there's going to be one side that's happy and one side that disagrees with you and not so happy. And hopefully you just do the right thing. And that's, to me, is representing the public. So other than that, yeah, you talk about the wages on especially the commissioners, and there's other wages involved, but how did it ever come about where you've got people that are the highest bidder? It's insulting to say that you've got a person can't do the job unless they're being paid a huge amount of money, and if you're charging the most, then you must be the most qualified, and that's just, it's insulting, and it
we can see it's not true.
Well, it isn't true, because ultimately what that means is you're not really interested in doing the job at hand. You're interested in how much it pays and how much you can get out of it. And if it's not there, then sayonara, I'm down the road, and I would say goodbye, if that was the case. I mean, you should be making money like the rest of the people. I use the babysitter analogy where, if you've got a child and you're working somewhere for $10 an hour, you can't pay the babysitter $20 an hour to watch your child. So, you've got to be somewhere in the ballpark as to what you make. And
So the
going
first question I would suggest that you ask of commissioner candidates. This is a show about politics. First question you should ask is, what is your stand on property taxes? And the second question you should ask is, are you going to be making more at this job than you're making at the job you now have? Why aren't you taking what it says in the charter? That's what I intend to do, given the chance. Want to say goodnight there, Ray?
All right. Good night. Thank you, Dale. And thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks to everybody. Good night.